Hey, good morning. Happy Sunday. It's Nudia Hernandez, your host of Entercom Radio's Public Affairs show. We are more than midway through July. We've been dealing with a global pandemic the majority of this year. It's been a really uncertain time for a lot of people. It could spark up a lot of anxiety, depression, loneliness, uncertainty in a time where a lot of people don't really know what's going on or how to deal with what's going on in the world. It's very heavy. There's a lot of stuff happening. So I'm very excited to have Oasis Counseling here with us. Oasis Counseling is a full service, private outpatient mental health clinic. Their qualified staff of licensed physicians provide services to children, adults, families, and couples. I have Taisha Ka'ayali'i, Executive Director of Oasis Counseling with us. Hi.
Hi there.
And I have Davey Schrader, Marketing Director of Oasis Counseling. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having us.
I was super excited to have you guys on because it is such an important topic right now. Mental health is the biggest thing that is happening. People are really having to deal with a lot of issues internally. Have you guys seen a big outpouring of people looking to get help during this time?
Yes, we've actually seen a really big uptake in our services, both in person as well as teletherapy.
Okay, and that's great because a lot of people are scared. There are people that don't want to go out in public at all. They don't want to risk the chance of getting the virus. So you do have ways of treating patients via phone or Zoom?
Correct. Yes. So they, in the comfort of their house, as long as they have an internet connection, so it can be through a phone, through a tablet, through a laptop, through a desktop, just some way for us to communicate with them. If that is more convenient and a little better for the individual to maybe give us a try if they've never had counseling before or spoke to a professional clinician, I'd highly recommend it. We do also offer 4 offices around town, which is very convenient. So we've got an office over in the southwest. It's Durango and 215. It's about a quarter of a mile away behind the IKEA, right off the 215. We've got another office in Summerlin near Tenaya and Smoke Ranch. So it's right there in kind of the heart of Summerlin. One right here in Galleria, Henderson, that's where we're at today, which is Stephanie and Warm Springs, and another one over in Green Valley at Horizon Ridge in Green Valley Parkway. So very convenient. We're spread out around town, but the telehealth therapy is also very convenient for a lot of people right now, especially the ones that are still working. You know, they have not maybe left their job. They're still able to work from home, and maybe they're not able to leave their home due to having children and working from home. If it's, working from their office, their personal computer, maybe their kitchen, that's definitely something we can do for them.
And if there's someone listening and they're like, oh my gosh, the office is close to me, close to where I live in my area, you guys are following CDC guidelines, correct? Like you are making sure that patients that are coming in are in a healthy environment?
Correct. All 4 of our locations, we are open to in-person therapy, and we, as well as testing appointments. We also are very closely following CDC guidelines, that are specific to COVID prevention. This includes the patients as well as the clinicians and as well as any administrative staff that we have. Like the governor said, everybody is required to wear a mask. But we have protocols set up at each individual office to ensure the highest level of safety. And that safety is not just, meant for the COVID safety part of it, but it's also to help manage the anxiety. It's anxiety driven enough to be reaching out to a professional like that, but to add the COVID, the possibility of COVID or contracting COVID, out there, that just adds to the anxiety and exacerbates the anxiety. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to meet everyone where they're at. If teletherapy works best for you, we're here for you for that. If in person, especially for the little ones, I work with a lot of the little ones, and it's really tough. At first it was something that we offered because it was something, in place of in person, but eventually as now we're opening up again, the little ones, it's really helpful for them to come in as well as straight into, young adults. It's sometimes easier to just be face to face with somebody. So again, we're just meeting everybody where they're at, making sure that we're there for everyone.
I love that. And I love that when I had the sheet with information for this interview for today, we haven't really talked about mental health within children. I see here that you guys have specialty services, assessments, and testings, and you guys start from the youth, children up to adults. We this whole time we've been talking about adult mental health. What have you seen with the children? Like, this is kind of unprecedented. A lot of people don't know how to handle this with a child.
Right. Well, we've seen effects across the board, obviously, and so with the little ones, and I'm talking, 3 plus, we're seeing, definitely outside of their norm, whereas they're either going to daycare, they're going to preschool, they're going to school. That, if you look at it, that was kind of just stopped immediately. All of a sudden, their norm was changed and they needed to adapt to a new normal. All the while, their parents, their siblings, and anyone else in the home was trying to figure out what that looked like for them too. So believe it or not, the stress on a family level what has just increased tremendously, and like I said, everything was kind of stopped, and we were forced to make these changes to protect ourselves and to be safe. But I mean, that included kiddos not finishing kindergarten or having a kindergarten graduation, and that was, or a sixth grade graduation or an eighth grade graduation, and then obviously climbing up into high schoolers. High schoolers were no longer, at that band performance, or they were no longer in any of those sports, football, softball, soccer. Everything kind of came to a halt. So it's been really challenging across the board for everyone, from little ones all the way up to parents and later in life, to just try and find ways to make adaptations. So I noticed I'm working really hard with families to try and find a new normal, while understanding that this too will pass, and hopefully that will, again, kind of subside or de-escalate the level of anxiety that everybody's feeling across the board.
Yeah, and Nudie, just to add on that, being a father of 3 little ones myself, my oldest is 7, my youngest is just turned 3. It's tough because even just them not being around their friends, not on recess together, it's so hard, and where we live, a lot of the children in our neighborhood are older. They're not the same age. Even if we felt comfortable, which we don't, but even if we felt comfortable, with them playing with some neighbors, it's not the same. It's right now it's changed for them drastically. We try to keep them as active at home as possible, especially in the summer. Obviously the distant learning at home was an adjustment for everyone in the family. But now with them at home and there's no school online every day, it's not all about video games 24/7. We need to set up some time to read. My daughter, she's really big into FaceTime right now. Like I said, she's 7, so she wants to chat with their friends and say hi. So we set up like FaceTime or Zoom meetings, and that's really helpful. And I think that really helps children just connect with other siblings besides their brothers and sisters, but the friends that they haven't seen in months at school. It really does help.
Yeah. And specific to coming from a mental health perspective, what we're seeing is a lot of increase in anxiety, a lot of increase in, negative behaviors. But I always keep that positive perspective. Children don't communicate by just saying, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, I'm mad. Children communicate their emotions through their behaviors. Mm-hmm. So what we have to do as parents and as caregivers is we have to look at those behaviors, not as something that, we're trying to pull our hair out or get so upset on, but we have to look at that as the children are trying to communicate their emotions with us. And then when those emotions for the parents are escalated as well, because let's just say they're trying to, mitigate through their transitions of either working at home or the financial stressors that have been out there for a lot of families, and everything across the board, we are unfortunately, we are experiencing a lot of increase in just even your everyday stress management, anxiety, your inability to cope, your ability to even manage your own behaviors and actions and your own emotions. And believe it or not, that's also affecting relationships, friendships, significant other relationships, marriages, So these are all challenges across the board that are really, really affecting everybody in the entire family dynamic.
And I know we were talking about stress and anxiety, and if someone's listening and they're like, I'm just a little stressed out, I'm just a little depressed because of what's going on in the world. I'm on Twitter 24/7 seeing all these, horrible things happening in our world. It does affect you, right? Like, can stress and anxiety affect your health. A lot of people don't really understand that.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point. Stress actually can affect you in so many different ways. Stress affects your mental health. Stress affects your physical health. So across the board, stress can, there's that one day where your stomach is really, really sore, or your head is really, really sore, and you didn't do anything physically that would, result in that. But you think about the last 2 weeks, and you're just like, my gosh, like I haven't had any type of self-care. I haven't been able to go and talk to a friend. I haven't been able to, get my kids to stop screaming and yelling or something like that. And it is, unfortunately, stress and anxiety are extreme issues that now, especially across the board in the middle of a pandemic, we have to be almost more aware of them. That's the key factor. We have to be aware that this is actually a normal part of our life. This isn't something that's abnormal, but it is important to, learn how to, first of all, identify it, and then learn how to manage it, and then learn how to make some positive changes so that you come from a prevention standpoint and you're preventing it from happening the next time.
I was going to say, if we could give our listeners right now a few tips, a few ways to manage their stress, what would you, from your professional standpoint, suggest?
First of all, start with the basics. Start with being able to just look at and identify what your stressors are. If you notice that you're having a really hard time working at home, or, maybe you're just stuck at a desk all day at home or something like that, if you recognize that, then, okay, next day, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a 5-minute break in between calls, or I'm going to take a 10-minute break here and there, or I'm actually going to take a lunch and not just grab the lunch and eat at my desk at home or at work. So first of all, it's just understanding where your stressors are and what stresses you out. And then second, it is learning positive ways to manage that stress, like self-care. How many of us are actual big hypocrites as far as self-care is concerned, because, it's that constant drive and motivation to just get things done that sometimes keeps us stuck and trapped with not realizing that we need to press the refresh button. We need to do that, pretty much every day. And if we don't, it builds up, and then normal, everyday stress and anxiety turns into high-level, severe stress and anxiety that, normal, everyday coping strategies, are going to be really tough to implement at that time. Self-care, some grounding and calming exercises. So, sometimes that's putting your earphones on and listening to music, and the music can be, calming, or it can be not, it's up to you.
Sure.
And then physical activity for sure. With a lot of with the pandemic, a lot of our norms have changed, so even something as simple as going for a walk looks different right now, with the social distancing and everything. So I've worked really hard with families across the board the last several months to make sure that they understand, to find their normal, to find what works for them, to, increase game night, or, or date night for that matter. And yes, we don't have to go out to do those things. You can stay at home. But definitely physical activity as well. Getting up, getting out, taking a walk. I know it's hot as heck out there right now,
Yeah.
but, that's just walking around the house or going up and down the stairs. And then I think the biggest one is to just make some positive changes. We can't look at this pandemic as being our new normal. We just have to look at it as that's how we have to deal with things right now. The biggest thing for us here at Oasis is to make sure that everyone out there knows that we are here no matter what level of stress you have, no matter what level of anxiety you have, no matter what's going on in your life. We will meet you where you are, and we will get you through it. We will help get you through it.
Amazing. And I know we were talking about working from home. That could cause a lot of stress and anxiety and depression. I know my dad's working from home right now. He hates it. The lack of social interaction is just not working well for him. And luckily, my family, everyone has gone through counseling and therapy. We're big advocates for seeking professional help. We do think, a lot of people, if you feel like you need it, you may want to look into it. And I love that nowadays, if you go online, you see a lot of people talking about it more. The stigma is kind of, it's far less worse than before, where it was like, oh, you're crazy if you have to go to therapy or
Right.
counseling. People
Exactly.
are talking about it. I think we all know people that are in therapy, and it's becoming the norm. And I love that. So if you feel overwhelmed by stress, ask for help from a health professional. If you should seek help right away if you have suicidal thoughts or are overwhelmed, feel you cannot cope, or using drugs or alcohol more frequently as a result of stress. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-273-8255. And I really wanted to kind of put in one last point for Oasis Counseling. If you have someone in the car and they're really listening to everything that we're talking about and they're thinking about making that step to reach out to you guys, to make an appointment, to get an assessment or a testing to see what's wrong with them, why should they do that for themselves?
The biggest thing is taking the initial step to reach out, and that is tough. That's tough for an individual to reach out to seek professional help. So there's a couple different things why they should. The number one is getting out of the norm that we're in right now, as Taisha just talked about. Number two is, are they ready to make that commitment to better themselves and move on to the next step? It's quite easy to do. Our offices are Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. We have somebody answering the phone at 702-294-0433. On our website, there's a form they can fill out that gets right emailed to us. We can get in contact with you right away. Our website is oasiscounselingtoday.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're pretty easy to find. You can private message us, DM us. On there, we're monitoring that all the time. So if somebody does not feel comfortable emailing us or calling us, they can reach out on social media through a private message. But our website's super easy. Anybody can go on there and fill out the contact form. Just go to the contact page. The other thing that I wanted to just mention is, if somebody is listening to this and they have or they are currently in therapy, or they have dealt with therapy before, but they're not happy with the way they're feeling on antidepressants and medications that they're on, we also do provide a service through our Oasis TMS, which is our TMS branch of this company. And TMS is transcranial magnetic stimulation. It's an alternative, medication-free treatment that can still work with their current therapy or get them back in therapy to work with that. And there's more information on our website. Just click on the Oasis TMS tab, and you can contact us with any questions for that too.
Also, just to add, we do have clinicians here at Oasis that do work, evening and weekends as well, because we do realize that, 9 to 5 sometimes for those who are still working or who are working at home and, again, trying to mitigate through those challenges. We do have, appointments that are available, by appointment only, obviously, with your individual clinician. But, I myself work on the weekends as well because I work a lot with the children, so want to make sure that we're accommodating the kiddos, especially if and when, the return to school. We do take, most commercial insurances as well as cash pay. But as we're working through this pandemic, we're also working with each individual family or member to make sure that we're, again, meeting you where you're at, and we do not turn anyone away, and we want to make sure we do everything in our power to also, best accommodate you and put you with a good fit as far as a clinician is concerned, and making sure that good fit suits your needs, I also want to just add that, if you have children and you notice, no matter what age, and you notice that there's, something just a little bit different, or maybe they're disengaged and in their room a little bit more than the usual, or acting out a little more than usual, or, just anything, please reach out to us, because they're not necessarily going to want to go to a, quote unquote therapist or counselor or something like that. But, if I can say, the most important thing or the most important factor that contributes to a child's ability to be resilient is the presence of a very supportive adult, or the very supportive parents or caregivers or grandparents. So, sometimes it does take us as parents to step outside and to say, no, I think we're going to try this, and again, I think we're going to support you and we're going to find the best fit for you. And again, I think that's key to helping all of us make it through this pandemic, as because we don't want to admit this, but the pandemic has put a huge stressor and strain on everyone, and so I think it's important for everybody to just understand where they're at and just know that there's help out there. We are one of the resources that really wants to make sure that we commit to the community, to get the help that you need.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being with us. It's been such a great conversation. We're talking to Oasis Counseling right now. Their offices are open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You could call them anytime during their business hours at 702-294-0433. And always make sure to check their website for more information at oasiscounselingtoday.com. Thank you guys so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much.